day. It's 12 noon. I started at 1 a.m., so I've been going for 11 hours. Yeah. And started in Palm Bay, Florida. Drove all the way to Kendall, Florida, then Homestead, then Miami, then Miramar. And now I'm back. I'm about an hour south of Melbourne, Palm Bay. I still gotta stop and get fuel. I stopped a minute ago just to stretch my legs and get some soda. I've driven, let's see, 2.5 hours before I stopped this morning. My first drive of the morning is usually about 3.5 hours. That's from like 1 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. So I've been doing this job now, I think, 3 years maybe. But I've been truck driving for almost 20 years. But this current job, delivering groceries in a refrigerated trailer, is not too bad. I do work about 63 hours a week, and I told my boss recently that when my son graduates in another year, it's May right now, so he's gonna graduate 11th grade, in about a month. But a year and a month from now, when he graduates from high school, if he gets out on his own, and I don't need as much money as a single parent, then I would like to change my schedule to 4 days a week instead of 5. And even at 4 days a week, I'll be working more than 50 hours a week, because I work on average about 13 hours a day. But it's crazy. A few days ago, I had a short day, which I never have, but they asked me to work on my day off, actually. And it was only 9 or 10 hours, and it literally felt like a half day. Like, it didn't even feel like I worked. I was like, dude, a 9 or 10 hour day for me is like a half day. Like, it doesn't even feel like I had to work. So, anyways, the reason I'm testing out recording on my phone is I saw a guy named Raymond. I think his channel's called Raymond Thoughts and Mind, and he's talking about he's been on YouTube for 1 year, and he's now making a little bit of supplementary income, which is pretty amazing. And I was like, plus everything he was saying was very similar, talking about the male loneliness epidemic and just, all that stuff. And, he's coming at it from his perspective, but he's the first guy I've ever seen on YouTube, and I've been watching YouTube, 20 years, whatever, that actually just said out loud, like, yeah, I haven't had, the touch of a woman in, almost 2 decades. And I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody's finally saying what I'm saying. I don't say it, but I'm like, dude, finally somebody. I'm not the only one. It's like, I'm going to be 47 soon, and my wife left when I was 30, and it's been, I've been a single parent. I got full custody of my kids back then when they were little. Now my older son is 20, he's in the Navy, and my younger son is 17. He's a year away from graduation of high school, so it's like, I did all this on my own, and I've just been, treading water for almost 2 decades, just trying to survive and, provide for my kids. So, I've been completely invisible, but it's like I haven't, as lonely as that's been, like, I haven't even been able to, like, allow it to affect me in a lot of ways, because, like, I have these 2 children that I'm, treading water, but also trying to keep them above water. So, I know some people don't care about their kids. I actually do, so I tried to provide for them as best I could as a truck driver. So, I've worked full-time, paid for everything. She, my ex owed child support for, the whole time, but she only paid in the middle because they caught her. And I wasn't even looking for her, but I guess the state of Indiana, where I was living at the time, found her working in Texas and started garnishing her wages without letting me know. And she, she never ever called me or had any contact with me or the kids, really. And out of nowhere, she called me and was like, "You're stealing my money." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I got a job and they're taking garnishment for child support." And I'm like, "Well, first of all, I haven't seen anything yet." It was literally like her first paycheck, And like 2 weeks later, I got a paycheck. I got a check in the mail from child support through the state. Like, she was never going to send it ever, but the state basically stole it on my behalf and didn't tell me it was coming. But it was just so funny that, like, it took her that. Anyways, it was funny. But then she moved from Texas to Florida, and they I guess they didn't track her or whatever, so it stopped again, and she never paid on her own ever. So it was like maybe 3 years in the middle where I was getting a little bit of money, but not really. So anyways, she still owes me, I don't even know, like 20, maybe even 30, 20 or $30,000 in back child support, which I know legally I could do something with, but honestly, like, I try. It may just be a male thing, but it's like I try so hard not to even think about the past or that I got screwed over or any of that, or just let it go, that I don't want her money. I don't want to deal with her, because I know the other thing is, like, if I do come after her, like, I'll hear from her, I'll know that I'll have to get re-involved with that whole situation. It's like, dude, I'd rather have the peace than to have the money. Like, I just don't want to deal with her ever again. So, I'd like to be able to get the money just to give it to my sons, but, I'm not going to dive back into the chaos just to get money, especially since if, I finally make it to the silver lining of the cloud I've been swimming through for 20 years, I'll actually be able to have some money. I'm 2 years away from paying off my truck. After that, I'd like to pay off my son's car. He's been driving since he was 16. If I can get both vehicles paid off, I'll essentially feel like I'm rich, because between my car and his car, I'm paying almost $1,100 a month, and then I think I'm actually paying more than that, or the same as that, for the insurance, because he's a 16-year-old male driver, and literally when he started driving, my insurance quadrupled from like $300 a month to $1,200 a month. So it was but yeah, when I get the cars paid off, if he gets out on his own and doesn't need me as much financially, I'll essentially be feeling like I'm rich, and then I can reduce my workload down to 4 days a week and really feel like a human being, maybe like a person. We'll see. But anyways, yeah, the whole dating thing, it's I like the reason I mentioned Raymond is because he talks about how it doesn't go away. Like, he's very different than me. He's responsible, has 2 houses, has, income, all that. I'm not. I've just been winging it my whole life. Somehow I haven't drowned. But I've always been in apartments. I hate the amount of apartment rent. Back when I started, rent was under $1,000, and now currently me and my son are in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I'm paying $2,100 a month. And it's like, I'm so, like, I don't mind providing for myself and my kid, but I just, like, when you think about the amount of money in a year, like $24,000 in a year just goes away, and I get nothing for it, as far as, like, equity or anything really. And they'll just as quickly, even I've been in my apartment for, I think, 3 years, and so you think $75,000 they've gotten out of me, and if I'm late, any moment, they'll kick you out in less than 2 weeks. They'll throw you out on the curb. Doesn't matter that they've got $75,000 from you. So I'm just tired of it. I told my son, like, honestly, like, if he gets out on his own, especially if he does, like, Air Force, 'cause my other son did the Navy, but if he does something where he doesn't need me around, I might just live in my own. I have an F-150. It's like, I have no pride left. I have no one to impress. No one gives a crap about me anyways. It's like, I'd be willing to shower at the truck stops and just live in my F-150 for a year just to save a down payment for a house. Because it's like, what's the point of, like, wasting all this money and not having anything, So anyways, I've been considering just making impromptu videos like this, maybe every day, and for like a year. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do the final year, this will be the first video in the final year before, you know, both my kids are grown. Like, one is already grown and gone, and the other one is a year away. So it's like the last year, you know, I made it, you know, 2 decades as a single parent, and I never thought I could do it. I was scared to death, but this is the final stretch, you know. This is the end, you know, before the transition into empty nesting or to some kind of new life. You know, I jokingly told my son, I was like, you know, what would you think if I, you know, did a family 2.0, like if I actually tried to find a woman and started a new family, you know, in my age that I am now. Like, you know, some of the, especially like you see on all the Hollywood people, you know, they just keep marrying, you know, people in their mid-20s and having kids, no matter, you know, they'll do it in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. I think Al Pacino's like 80 years old. He just had a kid with like a 24-year-old. It's like, you know, should I 2.0 this? Should I try again? Or should I just sail off into the sunset? But anyways, this is my first attempt at making a video. I'm on my phone driving the last hour of my work day, and we'll see how it goes. If I do this every day for a year, maybe something will happen.